And we're back. Hope you enjoyed your commercial break.
With your garbage man chocolate mug.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, we will be looking at episodes, I think his name is Baxter Stockman, and Metalhead. So, who wants to start off on episode 5?
I guess I could. Let's see. So episode 5 didn't focus on any particular turtle, if I remember it correctly. It was just kind of like everyone trying to sneak out and disobey Splinter, except for Leo, who is such a goody-good that, it almost hurt watching him. But even though, in episode 3, where he kind of like put his foot down with Raph and kind of used his position well to kind of understand what it needed to be done. Oh my goodness, I can talk. But in this episode, he just kind of lost whatever awesome leadership he had then, and yeah, no, he didn't do a very good job with leading the turtles.
And kind of, sort of, also, because you have to think about, well, first of all, in this episode is the very, very, very first time we've ever seen Splinter ground the turtles. Because, again, this show does portray them as actual teenagers, but we've never actually seen them, you're grounded for a week! We've never seen that before. And Leo's a teenager.
It's rare to see him go into a fatherly role. Usually he more or less views all the turtles as his underlings and his students, but he often either goes father or teacher, and on rare occasions both.
Well, in this particular case, unlike the last example, when they were actually going on an actual mission, and Raph was, like a liability, so they sent him home. In this case, it's just them being grounded, and of course Leo himself doesn't want to be grounded. He's a teenager too. He wants to go out, and the turtles are kind of, it looks like they were kind of gonna go out whether he said yes or no anyway.
They kind of peer pressured him into it, kind of thing.
Yeah, they just gave up and went with him.
Peer pressure.
And it's also easier to stop Raph than to stop Raph, Mike, and Don, I would assume.
Yeah, and this is the first time we hear Don mention that he's gone to a military junkyard. Like, he said, oh, remember when I went to that military junkyard? And they're like, no.
I like how one of the comics that actually shows the military junkyard. That was interesting. Just grab a casual line that Don said and make an entire episode out of it. Comic about it.
Well, it makes me wonder if they had actually had trips to the surface just outside the city, because some of the stuff they have in the lair looks like stuff that hadn't actually fallen into the sewers. I know a lot of it was either stuff Splinter had brought over from Japan when he was human, or it's stuff they had in the sewers, but do you think some of it may have been I don't know, occasionally the times where people put stuff out on the street with a free sign on it, or
I want to see
whatnot?
Who threw out a pinball machine.
That's a good point. And who fixed that up if it was broken? Probably Donnie, maybe? But yeah. I don't know,
I mean, I would assume Don would have fixed it if it was broken, but who the hell threw it out in the first place?
Maybe it was broken. Yeah, I don't know.
And it's a Space Heroes one, too. So.
That was convenient.
Yeah, so the turtles are all grounded for skateboarding in the lair, or Mikey is skateboarding in the lair, and the others got punished because they allowed him to do it.
Seemed kind of unfair.
I like the part with the whole, how many times have I told him to skateboard in the lair? None. I shouldn't have to tell you!
I'm like, they're teenagers, of
break
course
anyway.
they're gonna skateboard. Sorry, Paige, go ahead.
I said there's nothing really to break in there.
True.
I know Splinter would have exploded if they accidentally, somehow smashed a tree down or something.
Jeez, yeah. Mikey has that much weight and power to knock that thing down. Mm-hmm.
Or one of the branches, I don't know. I know Splinter would have probably lost it.
They're more likely to hurt themselves doing that. That's why he was upset. Because, one of the turtles easily could have been seriously hurt.
Or he could have broken the TV. Splinter, he's got to watch his shows, man.
Not that we've seen him watching his shows.
Because we're following turtles, duh.
Yeah, but we've never heard any mention of him watching his shows.
Maybe he's too embarrassed about it. He watches little soap operas like Days of Our Lives or whatever, and he's just too embarrassed to admit that he's such a man that he watches a soap opera.
Or he could do like Teen Titans Go, where Splinter secretly watches the ponies.
Right. How they ruined Raven like that.
Oh god, that show. Okay, yeah, no, I have no words to describe just what that show is. In any case, though,
Yeah, I watched that episode where Trigun shows up, and it was weird because, of course, the voice of Shredder plays the voice of Trigun. So to hear Shredder's voice say, "Oh, first we'll kill your friends, then we'll go get ice cream to celebrate."
I just hate how they kind of ruined him. Trigun is a demon. Come on.
Yeah, and it's like suddenly like, "Oh yeah, your dad's cool." No, he's not. You described earlier that he is a demon from hell who slaves worlds.
And a half demon child loving My Little whatever that's called, the Little Pony show on Teen Titans Go.
Pretty Pegasus?
Yeah, Pretty Pegasus.
wow.
That's embarrassing. I hate how they kind of screwed up Raven.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
stopped
that was
watching
funny
that
for
after
Shredder.
this. This is crazy.
Like, okay, Foot Ninjas, if you hit the turtles, they're going for ice cream. Come on, Dog Pound, walkies.
Oh my gosh.
With a little suit and tie. Clip-on tie.
That was so
Who's turned
funny.
into defeat fish face?
I remember one of the old Turtle cartoon episodes, the 80s cartoon, where Shredder was going to do whatever in disguise, and he actually used a hologram type device to make him appear in a suit and tie. Because I guess it was just so much work to actually take off his damn armor and wear clothes normally. I mean, the armor's not attached to him or anything.
Maybe it is.
Whoa.
But that's just so funny. The little hologram device, and he's wearing like a suit and tie, and like, you know, his regular normal self without the armor. Like, no, I'm in perfect disguise. It's like, dude, you could just take it off your armor.
Yeah, or where he's in normal clothes but he still has his mask on for some weird reason.
Yeah, I think one time he was wearing like a big cloak thingy, and he still had like the armor and junk under it anyway.
Well, I mean, there was like one time where he's wearing regular human clothes but he still wears the mask.
Yeah.
Huh.
They did
People
that.
must not know my secret identity.
That was a funny, crazy show. Like Casey Jones getting a job, still wearing the mask and the big hockey club thing, the bag.
Yeah, and saying, "When do I get to smash stuff?"
Anyways, back to the episode at hand. Let me see. Okay, so the turtles sneak out, skateboard, and do tricks, and Don also made.
Don't forget the
Yeah,
teapot.
he made the teapot, and
And don't forget Mikey's dancing.
yes, Mikey danced to it, all cool. And well, the teapot was made with some equipment from the military junkyard and everything. So when they're
Yeah,
out
and
running,
It's
H-
alien technology.
No, he said it was an AI chip with self-assembled coal polymers, and Mikey's like, "Oh, that's my favorite kind of polymers," even though he doesn't know what the hell that is.
and then he notices that like the thing is like downloading new songs by itself without it being made to do.
Well,
it.
they didn't realize that till they were skating later.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, Donnie, thanks for downloading all these songs." And Donnie's like, "What? I didn't download new songs." And you see this cool thing where he actually jumps onto Mikey's back and kind of a handstand, and Mikey is like literally not affected by his added weight.
Yeah, I know. It looks so weird how you did that whole scene.
That was pretty pro.
And then Leo's like, "Hey guys, keep quiet, we're ninjas." And he doesn't see where he's running and he ends up falling off the side of the building.
That was great. That was so good. I usually...
That was
And
an
then
epic fail.
Wasn't like Raph's crack joke saying, "Well, you're not really being quiet" or something like that?
Yeah, that wasn't really quiet, Leo.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Okay.
I commented on that. It's so rare that Leo does something like that because he's always like the perfect turtle, and they always like limit all the goofy stuff to Mikey. So it was funny seeing that happen to Leo.
Like, Leo, you should not take yourself so seriously. But yes.
Well, I mean, the other guys found it funny. I don't think Donatello found it quite as funny as everyone else did.
Yeah. I remember that screenshot of everyone's reactions. Raph and Mikey kind of had the greatest time with that.
And Donnie's kind of looking like, "Oh, is he okay?"
Oh, if they were talking, Raph would have said, "Oh, he's fine." Something like that.
So then they run into random dude that's in some kind of weird build-it-yourself armor suit thing going to rob a facility of some
I
sort.
thought, never.
No, they were getting ready to go skateboard on this one area, and then they noticed this guy walking down the street in rudimentary-looking armor, and they're like, oh, who's that guy, and why is he wearing armor? And Raph's like, I don't care who he is or why he's wearing armor, but he looks like he needs a beatdown. And Leo's like, hey, he could be just going to church. He hasn't done anything wrong, so we can't attack him. And then they see him breaking into a
I
building.
like that part though, because you don't hear church mentioned much in cartoons, and it was just so random the way it just flows like that. Maybe he's going to church. It's like, and what kind of church has you wearing armor like that? And Mike's like, the most awesome church ever.
I have to admit, though, a little part of me was actually thinking, like, that would be an awesome church. I have to admit, I kind of sided with Mikey a little teeny tiny bit, way deep down inside. But anyway.
That's where they go to, Church of Trigon.
It would have made more sense if he said, he's probably coming back from a costume party or something.
That would have made way more sense.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my head is church.
Then when they see him breaking into the building, he's like, okay, yeah, now he needs a beatdown. Even when they do confront him, they're like, oh, this guy's kind of sad, don't you think?
Didn't they? I don't remember what they said. I thought, like, we could buy him an ice cream cone or something like that, or...
Yeah.
Or am I imagining that? They said something that they pity...
Mike said that, yeah.
With an ice cream cone?
Yeah, like, I feel bad for a guy. Like, I don't know if we should kick his butt or buy him an ice cream cone.
But yeah, that was... Stockman has much to...
What I really like is the halt! Villain! It's like, wait. We're talking... Since when did we start talking like that? That's how heroes talk.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm glad about Space Heroes not being on TMNT anymore, because it will give Leo a chance to focus more on his own instincts and what his brothers are telling him rather than anyone else.
I still like that whole scene, because we're the turtles of justice. Rap's like, wow. I mean, just wow.
Oh, Leo. Oh, jeez, yeah, that was good. Sad, but good.
I like how they're gonna fight. Mike tells him to stop, and everyone stops, including the bad guy.
Yeah, everyone just stops and stares, and we see Mikey put the teapot away.
Humming the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song from 1987.
He keeps humming that at, like, random points throughout the season. So adorable. But anyway, so yeah, they fight. The Turtles totally own Stockman. Throw him in a dumpster, come back home, and Mikey realizes he forgot or lost track of where the teapot went.
And he's afraid of what Donnie will do to him when he finds out, which is why he's cringing.
Like, oh, jeez. Not just Donnie, what will the others do?
Yeah, but it was Donnie's invention, so of course Donnie would be the one who freaks out first.
I like how the scene where Baxter finds it and plugs it in. I mean, you'd think you would just, I don't know, ignore it, or it's like, this random thing, I got my ass kicked, but I was listening to some cool music on the way home, or something.
Obviously, he wouldn't know what it was, so...
That's even weirder. Why just, I don't know what this is, it might blow my brains out, I'll plug it in and find out!
Yeah, I mean, it obviously looks like an MP3 player, acts like an MP3 player. Ooh, is this an MP3 player? No, it's not an MP3 player.
Speaking of how Mark said about blowing out his brains, like, they even mentioned, the other Turtles mentioned how Donnie's giving Mikey, like, high technology. They said something like either it's gonna rot his brain or something's gonna happen to him. Why give him, like, the big technology? I remember they mentioned that earlier in the episode. Mark just reminded me about that.
Donnie, of course, makes the comment of, like, if it does, who's going to notice? And, of course, the first thing Mikey does when he turns it on is he screams, and Donnie's like, oh, what, my God, what's going on? So you could see he took his comment not very seriously.
And then, let me see, so... Okay, so the Turtles go, well, Baxter plugs the thing in because, yeah, why not? I got my ass kicked, I'll just steal this random MP3 player I just found on the floor. And, it starts, like, transforming his robotic armor and epicness. And the Turtles, like, go home, but they're, like, sleeping and, like, all sleepy and tired because it's very, like, late and everything. So the next morning, when they're gonna train, they're all sleepy and whatever, they can't focus on their training.
Well, I mean, they got home around 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sure Splinter has them up at 6 or 7.
Oh god, yeah.
And Splinter, of course, is like, okay, you guys are tired, what's going on? Because I know you guys did something, and they're like, oh, no, we're fine. And so Splinter's like, oh, in that case, I guess you wouldn't mind a little rondori.
Kicks all their butts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was... They really, showed Splinter that they are totally innocent.
I remember so much complaints about that.
About the Randori, or...
Like in the 2000... Because, lots of people object to Splinter actually smacking his sons around once in a while when they need smacking. In the 2003 cartoon, I think he used to slap them around sometimes, too, and lots of people always complain, like, message boards always complain about that.
Splinter isn't your regular, normal father, though. He's also their trainer, so...
Call the child... whatever it's called. Child support.
Child Protection Services for Mutant Turtles.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess I can imagine a lot of people being really sensitive about that, but I don't know. This is a story about ninjas. They don't necessarily kind of get the easy life.
That would be funny, Splinter, as their actual trainer. Turtles are getting beat up by Shredder, and Splinter's like, come on, Donatello, you can do it. Come on, hit him with the right. Ah, you lousy bum, come on. That'd be funny.
Oh, that would be... Oh, yeah, that's... No. Just no. That's where the father aspect comes in. Splinter would kind of, like, jump in there, probably. Yeah, he would. But yeah, back to the episode. Practice ends up going horribly wrong, and afterwards, I think... You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Leo starts watching Space Heroes again, where
When a news report comes in and they see the guy they beat up during the previous night attacking the TCRI building.
And the first place he decides to use his evil technology, his latest robot machinery, is his old workplace, just because he got fired over what was it, a copier?
I think so, either a copier or a copy machine.
Yeah, he accidentally broke a copy machine by putting toner in the wrong place, and that's why he was fired, because he destroyed an inexpensive piece of equipment. And, of course, he has a blame the world when he should really be blaming himself kind of mentality, and his take is, oh, that copy machine was broken when the thing happened.
But the sad thing is, instead of going out to, like, rob banks, do all the evil gang stuff, whatever, he goes to get revenge on his workplace.
Where everybody recognizes him and yells his name out.
Look, it's Baxter Stockman!
Well, he explains later that when he was a kid, he was expelled for burning down the gym, and he vowed revenge on all the people who wronged him, even though he was clearly the one at fault. And if you think about it, that's kind of several felonies right there. So getting expelled from school for burning down the gym is kind of fairly light.
Was that mentioned the episode when they're working with Dogpound and Fishface, or when was that episode? I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was, let's see, I'm trying to remember the episode title.
That was Baxter's Gambit. Both Donatello and Dogpound were kind of leading them out of the little labyrinth thing that Baxter had cooked up, so to kind of distract him, they had Mikey and Dogpound ask questions about his life, and Baxter's like, oh yes, I was a very sensitive child, and blah blah blah, and then he says like, oh yeah, and I made a active volcano for the science fair with actual molten lava. Burned down the gym. I was expelled, and therefore I vowed revenge.
I still haven't even seen that episode yet.
Yeah, that's like jumping to episode... Oh, gee, I can't remember the number it was, but... It's like after episode 15 at least. So it's a while up. Ahead? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, they always play the old episodes constantly, and they never ever play the newer episodes. Like, the ones that I need to watch, they really never play, and they just overly play this episode that we're talking about in, like, Metalhead.
Especially Metalhead.
Weird.
It's probably like the most aired episode ever so far.
Wow.
I mean, I think we didn't even have to rewatch it on DVD. It's like it's stuck in our brains
I
by
still
now.
kind of watched it anyway.
Probably zoned out. I would.
Okay, so now they gotta go out and stop Baxter before Splinter finds out that's kind of their fault. They made a brand new villain because, you know, they didn't have enough villains already and needed to make more, so...
Yeah, so they strike that night, and unfortunately he's grown too powerful for them to take on.
And now he throws them in the dumpster.
Yep.
While yelling out, "Oh yeah!" as he breaks through the wall.
Oh, that was
And
the first.
we noticed...
Okay. I always had a hard time finding when the first reference to Kool-Aid was. So this is where it was. Okay, anyway, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, and this is also the first time we see that Donnie's bow staff can be turned into a naginata.
Which
like a
lasts for
split
2
second.
seconds. That was disappointing. I was looking forward to seeing Donnie actually do some damage with that thing, but nope.
Maybe they'll have an episode in the second season where where someone questions, like, why he doesn't use his naginata so often. It's like, I could see Mikey bringing that up. Saying, like, hey, my nunchucks turn into Kasarigama, why don't you use your naginata quite so often? Or
Because it's a sight gag. Or that's what it's just reduced to nowadays.
yeah, like when someone other than Donnie is using the bow staff and it juts out, nearly taking their head off or the head out off of someone else.
Yep.
It's
Like, the only
interesting now because now, basically thanks to that, all 4 turtles have blade weapons now, when in the past they didn't.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll have an explanation for why he doesn't use the naginata blade, or if you go chronologically, maybe we can assume this was the upgrade he actually did add to his weapon after Metalhead.
So,
I
the
forgot
turtles
what
fail
happened
in that
after
fight.
Baxter threw the turtles into the dumpster. What happened next after that?
They end up having to escape, and it's hard enough doing so. They end up creeping back into the lair, and Splinter catches them. And they come up with the funniest excuse ever. But yeah.
Oh, and then they have that scene that was deleted from the original episode for some reason. I remember in the early previews when Mikey jumped up to dodge Baxter's missiles. He was hanging off of a post of some sort or something. In the episode, that's all you see. In the original previews, he's up there, but he looks down, he sees like a Pikachu. He's like, "Ooh, I can see Pikachu from down here, or from up here, or something." And I'm not sure why they skipped that part out.
Maybe too much. Maybe the episode took too much time. I don't know, but that was like 2 seconds. I don't know.
It's like in the what do you call it, the premiere when Mikey finally showed the crank to the turtles. The crank stuck on his head and he's running around with it still stuck on his face. And there was a scene where Raph was like, "See, even when he's red, he still looks stupid," or something. And that was also like left out. That's kind of weird.
It's a challenge.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I think those were just made maybe just for the previews, just to get people excited. Because they ended up switching where the turtles first met the Krang. Like in the previews, it was in this dark warehouse, but in the episode, it was in the Krang compound with where Kirby was first held captive. So I think that material was maybe just for the previews. But I don't know why they didn't use the pizza. I can see the pizza place from up here. I don't know why they didn't use that. I mean, Mikey's ditzy enough. It would have worked.
Yeah, maybe because it looks so gross, because, you know, after the Krang gets off of Mikey's head, his head is still covered with that slime or something, and people might think that looks a little too yuck.
Could be.
I'm not sure. That's weird. I didn't even notice. I remember that joke where Mikey kicks Metalhead between the legs, and of course that hurts. I remember that joke was seen. I didn't even notice it was Metalhead. That scene was so fast. I didn't even notice he was kicking Metalhead. Like for me to say, "Oh wow, you mean Metalhead's gonna be in this show too?" Like I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, oh look, robot. But yeah, I didn't recognize him. He was so small.
Okay, well back to the episode. I guess the turtles go home, and this time Splinter does make them come clean.
Yeah, teaches that or tells them to fight the guy inside the armor instead of the armor itself. Little piece of wisdom, and plus some sarcasm, because do no harm unless you mean to. Then do lots of it. You gotta love Splinter, but anyhow, yeah, I think that was an interesting point when it was kind of like, okay, is he trying to be more fatherly or is he more of a sensei at this point? I remember at this point in the season, I was still trying to like wrap this new Splinter around my head and trying to figure out if he was more of a sensei or more of a father, and how he kind of what role exactly what role does he play in the turtles' lives. But yeah.
Well, like you said in the finale, it's his job to teach them and guide them for what they will face. But that doesn't necessarily mean he has to stay in the lair the entire time.
That's true.
So the turtles go out and face Baxter for the final time. And by now, this is a stupid thing though, acting like the armor's merging with Baxter. That was a weird term to use. He was still a guy in the giant robot thing. I mean, the robot looked more powerful, but I mean, in my definition, merging would have been Baxter becoming like a cyborg of some sort.
Yeah.
He was still a dude in the robot, so that was a very strange way to phrase it.
That's a good point. I didn't realize that when I was watching the episode, but yeah. Merging isn't necessarily... It's like man becomes machine. But no, it's just he's still a man inside a machine.
And maybe they were trying to say that the T-Pod was merging with his armor.
That could be it.
Yeah, could have done that better, though.
And then they finally defeat him by throwing a beehive thing inside the armor.
And we learned later the Pulverizer actually was watching this
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about
whole fight.
Like, I rewatched this episode. I was like, wait, the Pulverizers kind of like saw this whole thing. And I tried looking back to see if I could see a little figure in a window somewhere.
That would have been so cool if they actually did that. If they actually took that much hindsight and did that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we see that scene where Mikey gets thrown into one of the walls of the buildings nearby, and it almost looks like he got thrown clear through the building.
The only thing that was kind of weird is how I don't know, many people also were saying when they mentioned you don't fight the armor, you fight the man inside the armor, they thought it was going to be more of a psychological attack, because since Baxter is, I guess his history with being bullied and all that, other trolls are going to like basically throw insults and make him lose focus and therefore lose the fight, instead of actually just throwing a beehive inside the armor or something.
Or kind of like that weird random episode of Fast Forward where they have this guy who's like a collector, and he's collecting all these superheroes or things, and he goes to, and one of the places they get put in is a stadium that has like Pokemon kind of creatures in it.
Oh my god. I've heard about that episode. I still have to see it.
Yeah, and what they do is they trick the guy into collecting himself.
Wow. That is pretty psychological.
Well, yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, there's like this really rare creature that we know of, and it has blah 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 and blah blah blah, and he's like, oh, I must have this creature, and his minions all capture him.
The show kind of, I think I might have mentioned this before, but the show does, it does a lot of new things, a lot of unexpected things, and to stay on point with the turtles taking on taking his lesson and doing something that we wouldn't necessarily expect, in this case being the turtles kind of taking things really literally, and using a beehive instead of trying to trick Stockman, instead of trying to trick him psychologically. Thanks for pointing that out, Mark, actually. I kind of like felt, it's kind of weird to describe, but I felt like it was, I kind of thought they would do that. I was kind of surprised with the, I guess the method they ended up using, and I couldn't never really articulate that it was because I thought they were being, like, I expected them to kind of do something psychological instead of physical, so, yeah.
And another thing is, Baxter's portrayal in general was interesting, how they made him stand out and everything, and he was actually completely by himself in this episode, because even in the first episode of 2003 cartoon, and near the end, you still see, like, Hun come and grab him and everything, and implying they work with Shredder, so he was still like a solo villain now, at least at this point in time during this episode, which kind of goes with, because in Mirage, he never worked for anybody, he was his own villain, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and Donatello's the one who offs him later, which was rather disturbing, but then again, in the Mirage, Donatello does have a dark side that the other incarnations would have thrown up if they actually learned that.
But yeah, here Baxter's a lot goofier and more bumbling, and he really likes, I don't know, he must be a fan of comic books or something. He likes to do all the cliches almost on purpose, wants to give himself an epic supervillain name, and wants to do the whatever, and the super epic thing of Doom, and all that. So they really made him a different character of sorts.
They made him sort of a blend of his Mirage and 87 counterparts, because the 87 counterpart was a humble scientist who just wanted to be taken seriously, and when he joined the Shredder, he became more and more maniacal.
Yeah.
Still annoying, but maniacal,
And then in the Mirage comics, he was basically robbing banks because it's fun.
Well, yeah. Well, he lived in his own world, to an extent.
So here they add, like, classic comic book cheese to his character. What do you think?
Yeah, he just, I don't know, he's just a wimpy, geeky kid that just was always just pushed around, especially how he was, obviously was pushed into the garbage. The garbage dumpster, yeah, I couldn't think of the word. And I guess he's just been pushed around and he's been pushed too far. So he's just getting revenge on stupid things. But he's just like one of those cheesy characters that you would not even think twice about. He could just be defeated easily. I don't know.
I did notice that when you threw him in the dumpster, it's like, "This is not the first time I was thrown into the dumpster, you know?" It's like, what?
That's not a real good thing to say.
He says, "Do you think you're the first people who threw me in the dumpster?" Yeah.
Part of me was like, why does that not surprise me? But yeah, so let's see, that's actually kind of how the episode ends, doesn't it? Like, they stick the beehive nearly kind of, it's a good thing, hopefully it's a good thing that Stockman isn't allergic to bees, otherwise they would have killed him. But in any...
Oh god, we didn't even think of that.
I did. From what, all the bee stings, I think it could kill someone. I don't know. Even if you're not allergic to it, I don't know. Even that many stings is still bad for a person, though. So.
Yeah, anaphylactic shock or something.
Yeah, even if you're not allergic, I think that could something happen to you.
And on top of that, still being thrown to the dumpster.
Yeah.
Yes, the turtles, they do mean harm. Do us lots of harm.
But then ending, I think it's like the whole ending lesson of not sneaking out and fixing the problems you bring.
And then Splinter's gonna smack them again with more Randori. It's like you're ungrounded, but first more Randori, and everybody runs.
Yep.
And then it goes all black and white. Aww.
Such a tender family moment.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of like the end of episode 5.
Any other thoughts you want to add to it, Venka?
Not that I know of, other than the fact that he said, can we call this a tie? Or something as if saying, yeah, why, okay, guys, I'm sorry, I attacked you, can we call this a tie? And Raph responds by throwing him in the dumpster and then saying, yeah, now we could call it a tie. It's kind of like that guy they tortured in the Red Sky series, Kronos. There was this one villain they tied up and put and locked in a clock tower, and then when he attacks them again later, they respond by tying him up again and putting him in the clock tower.
Any other final thoughts on the episode? I think before we move on to probably the most viewed episode ever.
I've got one last one. I'm not sure whether this episode was maybe kind of sorta supposed to be some kind of showing of Leo and Rav kind of coming to some sort of agreement, especially since a lot of times before the episode they were at odds, and especially at the beginning of the episode they couldn't agree on what to do with Baxter Stockman. But it did seem to me that a lot of Raph really did get his way a lot of the time. It seemed to me, I could be wrong, that it was a lot of Raph challenging Leo, but then Leo just kind of going along with it.
Well, Leo is heavily influenced by his brothers, largely Raph or Donnie, but one person in the Technodrome forum, I believe, pointed out that Donnie has a heavier influence than any of the others do in many cases on Leo's behalf or behavior.
It might be. Well, he is the one to go to if you want a second opinion.
Yeah.
Raph is more whatever, just kick some ass, and Mike is Mike. So Don is probably the turtle to go to for a second opinion.
Yeah, which is why I kind of found it very refreshing that to see that little strategy meeting between Donnie and Leo in that montage they had in the finale, because it's kind of saying Donnie is slowly becoming a second in command in his own right.
Yeah.
Donnie, he wouldn't really want to have Leo's position, because I don't know if he's capable enough for that, but he has shown signs yes, he can take the leadership role if needed, but only if it's needed. If anyone want to give a rating for this episode, though? Yes, because last episode, of course, I did start to have a rating system in it, and for people who haven't understood what the rating system was, the highest rating is epically awesome. That means this episode was really, really good. We love it. We show it to our grandmother.
Show it to our grandmother.
But
I doubt she would care, unless Garbage Man was in it.
Yeah, or anybody we just happen to want to get into the Ninja Turtles series. Good story means, yeah, it's watchable, but there's a little nitpicks here and there, but that's just about it. I wouldn't kick it bed for eating beans, but wouldn't recommend it to a newcomer means it's watchable if you're familiar with the series, but if you are not so familiar, yes, it will turn you off.
She finally explains it! Okay, finally get it.
Yeah. Then, next one, number 2 is if you've never seen it, you're not missing anything. Meaning, yeah, this has no real bearing on the story, so if you never see this episode, what the hell, you're not missing anything. Number 1 is yeah, I've seen better bad fan fictions that are better than this.
Let's see, if I were to give a rating using that system, I think this might be a bit harsh, but I would put it at a 3, so wouldn't like kick it out of bed for eating beans, but maybe wouldn't recommend it to a newcomer. Would anyone kind of side with me there, or do you think it was better than that?
I feel like it's 2. Because it's not really that essential. I don't know. Well, it does teach some lessons, but I don't know.
I would kind of rate it as a good story, but that's just being nice. Because we are introduced to Baxter Stockman in this episode, so it has its essentialities to the story. But yeah, it would probably be not the first thing you would show to a person who's new to the series.
Yeah, I would probably put number 3 because it wouldn't interest newcomers because Baxter was kind of a lame bad guy for people to see like, wow, the show's not as awesome as I thought. But it still has lots of good dialogue, lots of funny stuff. I like seeing Leo mess up and the turtles being grounded. I mean, it had a lot of humor. It's just that I guess, yeah, for newcomers, you would probably want to show them episodes of Shredder and stuff in them instead than this one.
It had enough action in it to make it good, but yeah, it's the fact that they are beating up this poor guy who was fired. Yeah.
I forgot, that was my favorite. That was a good part too when Leo cut off part of the arm or whatever it was, and the thing like became its own separate robot, got stuck on Leo's head.
Oh yeah.
And was blasting the other turtles while he was running around blindly.
That was like whenever we rewatched it, it made me think of like the early version of the Mausers. It kind of like how it formed. It looked like a Mauser head.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and both Leo and Don getting knocked off the building like that and having to get rescued by Raph.
Yeah. And also, like, it's the first time we've seen Baxter introduced without his Mousers at first.
No, it is true. The Mousers came way, way later. Episode 11, I think, Mousers Attack, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, this is the first person who is an enemy who hasn't been mutated thus far.
Except for maybe Shredder.
Because, like, and if he had ended up being mutated as a fly at the end, it wouldn't be quite as enjoyable because it would be like we were following the same old pattern.
So we do have another season coming up. We'll have to see what happens to Stockman in later episodes. It's not over yet.
Yeah. But it's good that he started out as a villain, not as who hasn't been mutated.
Alright. Time for Metalhead?
Well, probably like another break first.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we're going to take a small break, and we'll be back in a moment.